Zidane and Cristiano Ronaldo went out for dinner, and something incredible happened. Have you ever wondered what happens when extraordinary talent meets genuine compassion? What happens when the stars who shine on fields around the world decide to illuminate the lives of those in the shadows? This story will reveal a side of Cristiano Ronaldo and Zinedine Zidane that cameras rarely capture, a unique moment that forever changed the life of a family, and perhaps theirs too. Keep watching until the end to discover how a simple gesture can transform entire lives. If you love stories of self-overcoming that go beyond football, this is the perfect moment to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. The clock showed 8:30 p.m. in Madrid, exactly 48 hours before the Champions League final, and the city's air seemed to vibrate with anticipation. In the Salamanca district, far from the spotlight and media attention, a black Bentley Continental discreetly parked at the entrance of El Paraguas, one of the most exclusive restaurants in the Spanish capital. Cristiano Ronaldo adjusted the gold watch on his wrist before stepping out of the vehicle. He wore a navy blue suit impeccably tailored without a tie, reflecting his characteristic casual elegance. A few minutes later, a silver Mercedes-Benz S-Class stopped just behind. Zidane, with his serene posture and penetrating gaze, exited the car dressed in a gray blazer over a black shirt. "I thought you would cancel," Zidane commented with a discreet smile as they greeted each other with a quick hug. "Missing the truffle risotto from here. Not even a Champions League final could make me give that up," Ronaldo replied with a hint of relaxation in his usually intense and focused eyes. It was a tradition they had established 3 years earlier when Zidane took over as the Real Madrid coach. On the eve of decisive matches, they would meet for a dinner where the only rule was not to talk about tactics, training, or pressure. It was a moment to breathe, to remember that beyond being athletes and professionals, they were human beings. The maître d'hôtel led them to a private room in the restaurant, decorated with elegant simplicity, beige walls, and a round table with caramel leather chairs. The soft lighting created an atmosphere of tranquility. And you, what would you do if you met Cristiano Ronaldo and Zidane in a luxurious restaurant? Would you have the courage to talk to them, or just take a selfie? Leave your reaction in the comments. I want to know what your reaction would be. "Do you remember our first final together?" Zidane asked while savoring a special reserve red Rioja. Cristiano smiled as he delicately cut the Wagyu carpaccio in front of him. "Milan. I almost had a nervous breakdown during that penalty shootout, and here we are now, on the brink of something no one has achieved before. 3 consecutive Champions Leagues." The Frenchman contemplated his glass for a moment. "Of all the conquests in my career, this one would be the most special as a coach." The dinner continued with reminiscences of shared moments, behind-the-scenes stories that made them both laugh, and some reflections on life beyond football. Cristiano's children, Zidane's future projects. For 2 hours they managed what seemed impossible: to forget that the whole world would be watching their every move in less than 2 days. "Sometimes I wonder what a normal life would be like," Ronaldo commented while savoring pistachio ice cream. "You know, being able to dine in a restaurant without booking the entire place, taking my kids to the park without bodyguards, that kind of thing." Zidane nodded thoughtfully. "Normality is the luxury we've sacrificed, but it's worth it when I think of the lives we can touch, the stories we inspire. It's bigger than us." Cristiano silently agreed, the weight of expectations gradually returning to his shoulders, but somehow it seemed lighter now. The dinner had fulfilled its purpose, a calm oasis before the storm that would be the final. After settling the bill, Cristiano insisted on paying this time. They walked towards the exit, relaxed, revitalized, and ready to face what was to come. What they didn't know was that fate had prepared an unexpected encounter that would change their perspective on what it truly means to make a difference in the world. The Madrid night was surprisingly cool for May, with a slight breeze rustling the leaves of the trees lining the exclusive street. As Cristiano and Zidane walked towards their cars, discussing the exceptional wines they had tasted, something caught their attention. Leaning against the wall near the parking lot, a boy of about 12 years old watched them with red, swollen eyes. He wore a worn-out white Real Madrid t-shirt, a bit too large for his thin frame, faded jeans, and sneakers that seemed to have seen better days. His hands trembled slightly as he seemed to gather his courage. The restaurant security guard quickly approached to move the boy away, but Zidane made a discreet gesture with his hand, indicating that everything was fine. There was something in the boy's expression that touched the Frenchman, a mix of desperation and determination that he immediately recognized. "Is everything okay, little one?" Zidane asked in fluent Spanish, approaching cautiously so as not to frighten the child. The boy swallowed, looking alternately at Ronaldo and Zidane as if he couldn't believe they were really speaking to him. Fresh tears began to roll down his cheeks. I'm Miguel," he said in a trembling voice. "I saw your cars arrive. I've been waiting here for almost 3 hours." Cristiano exchanged a quick glance with Zidane before crouching down to meet the boy's eyes. 3 hours is a long time, Miguel. Why were you waiting for us on the street alone at this hour?" Miguel took a deep breath, as if mentally rehearsing what he was about to say next. "My mother is very sick, Mr. Ronaldo. She has cancer." His voice broke on the last word. "She used to work as a cleaning lady, but now she can't anymore. Yesterday we had nothing to eat at home, and today neither." The boy lowered his eyes, ashamed. "I didn't want to ask, I swear. I tried to sell drawings near the stadium, but the police chased me away. I thought about cleaning car windshields, but..." He wiped his tears with the sleeve of his t-shirt. "When I saw your cars, I thought it was my only chance. My mother always says you both have good hearts." Zidane felt his throat tighten. Cristiano remained silent for a moment, his eyes darkening with contained emotion. "Where do you live, Miguel?" Ronaldo finally asked. "Carabanchel, sir? It's far from here." "And how did you get to this neighborhood?" "By metro. I used the last coins we had saved." Cristiano stood up and looked at Zidane. A silent communication passed between them, the kind of understanding that transcended words, similar to what they shared on the field. "Miguel," said Ronaldo, gently placing his hand on the boy's shoulder, "today, you're not just going home with money for food. We're going to do more than that." The boy looked at them, confused, alternating his gaze between the two football legends, unable to fully grasp what was happening. He didn't know that his desperate courage had touched something deep within these two men, awakening memories of their own childhoods and struggles. He didn't know that this chance encounter on the sidewalk of a luxury restaurant was about to completely change the course of his life and his mother's. Have you ever thought about the impact a small act of courage can have on our lives? Miguel risked everything by waiting for hours outside that restaurant, not knowing if he would be noticed or ignored. Sometimes, our greatest miracles happen when we decide to try, even without guarantees. If this message touched your heart, leave your like now. "Let's go meet your mother, Miguel." Zidane's voice was gentle but firm, leaving no room for discussion. The boy's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and shame crossing his face. "But our home is very simple, Mr. Zidane. It's not a place for people like you." Cristiano smiled, an authentic smile he rarely showed in front of the cameras. "Miguel, do you know where I come from? From a small apartment in Madeira where I shared a room with my brothers. Zizou grew up in La Castellane, one of the toughest neighborhoods in Marseille." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We are not just what you see on TV." The Portuguese player took out his wallet from the inside pocket of his suit and handed a few bills to the boy. "This is for you to buy food now, but we want to do more." While Miguel looked incredulously at the money in his hands, more than his mother earned in a month, Zidane called his personal driver. Quick decisions were made. Calls were made. Cristiano contacted his team while walking to the car, asking them to prepare documents and make the necessary arrangements. The journey to Carabanchel was silent. Miguel sat between the two legends in the back seat of the Mercedes, still unable to believe what was happening. Occasionally, he gave directions on which street to follow, his small voice contrasting with the grandeur of the men beside him. The car parked in front of a dilapidated building with peeling walls and a poorly lit entrance. As they climbed the stairs, the elevator had been out of order for months, to the 5th floor. Cristiano recalled his own childhood, the hardships he had faced, the sacrifice of his mother working as a cook to feed them. Entering the small apartment, the reality of the situation hit them like a punch. A tiny space, clean but clearly poor, with worn-out furniture and walls that urgently needed a fresh coat of paint. On the sofa bed in the living room, a thin, pale woman with a scarf covering her bald head looked toward the door with wide eyes of disbelief. "Mama!" Miguel ran to her. "Look who came to help us." Carmen, Miguel's mother, tried to stand up reflexively, but it was clear she didn't have the strength. Zidane quickly approached, gently indicating for her to remain seated. "Please, madam, rest." During the next 40 minutes, they listened to Carmen's story. She had been diagnosed with advanced breast cancer 6 months earlier. She lost her job as a cleaning lady when chemotherapy sessions left her too weak to work. Without adequate insurance and facing an interminable wait in the public health system, she was essentially waiting for the inevitable. Her greatest fear being the future of her son, who would be left alone. As she spoke, Cristiano observed the photos on the wall. Miguel as a baby in his mother's arms. Miguel in a school uniform. Miguel with a cheap plastic football. He saw the school books neatly organized on an improvised shelf, noticing the zeal with which, even in poverty, this mother tried to give her son dignity. Zidane, on the other hand, noticed the medications piled on the coffee table, some clearly inferior generic substitutes for the drugs she actually needed. It was then that Ronaldo stood up and made a promise that would change everything. "Carmen, from today, you will have the best medical treatment in Spain. We will provide all the specialists, medications, everything necessary. And for the next 5 months, while you recover, all your expenses are covered. Your rent, food, Miguel's needs." At this crucial moment in the story, I want you to comment the word solidarity if you believe that small gestures can truly transform lives. The true character of a person is not revealed in front of cameras or under the spotlight, but in moments when no one is watching. Carmen opened her mouth, her hands covering it, tears flowing freely. Why would you do this for us?" Zidane, usually so reserved with his emotions, replied in a slightly choked voice, "Because we can, and because your son had the courage that many adults wouldn't have." Cristiano added, "Tomorrow, my team will come here to organize everything. We will transfer you immediately to a specialized clinic." That night, when they finally left the apartment, Cristiano and Zidane walked differently from the men who had entered the restaurant hours earlier. In less than 48 hours, they would face the greatest sporting challenge of their recent careers. But at that moment, both felt they had already accomplished something far more significant. The ball soared through the night air in Kiev in a perfect trajectory, finding Gareth Bale's left foot. An acrobatic move later, the net rippled and the stadium erupted. 3-1 for Real Madrid. The dream was realized. The Decimotercera, the club's 13th Champions League title, was practically guaranteed. On the sidelines, Zinedine Zidane maintained his usual composure, but those who knew him well could notice a different glint in his eyes. In the technical area, Cristiano Ronaldo prepared to enter in the final minutes. His face marked not only by his characteristic determination, but by a newfound serenity. None of the journalists covering this historic final, the third consecutive Champions League that Real Madrid would win, an unprecedented feat in modern football, knew that both carried something beyond the sporting responsibility. That night, they carried the promise made to a 12-year-old boy and his sick mother in a small apartment in Carabanchel 2 days before the final. While the press speculated about their comings and goings during the morning, Cristiano and Zidane were at the University Clinic of Navarra in Madrid, ensuring that Carmen received the treatment protocol developed by Europe's best oncologists. Miguel had been temporarily settled with Carmen's sister, with the promise that he could visit his mother every day. A discreet team of assistants ensured that all needs were met without attracting media attention. When the final whistle blew in Kiev, consecrating Real Madrid as triple European champions, few understood the significance of the prolonged embrace between the coach and the star. It wasn't just for the victory on the field. It was for the greater victory they both felt they had achieved off it. 3 months after the final, while the football world was still echoing Cristiano Ronaldo's surprising transfer to Juventus, a much quieter event was taking place in Madrid. In the same clinic where Carmen had begun her treatment, she was receiving the results of her latest exams. Sitting beside her was Miguel, Zidane, and via video call, Cristiano from Turin. "Complete remission," announced the doctor, as silent tears streamed down Carmen's face. "The treatment worked beyond our expectations. We will still need regular follow-ups, but," he smiled, "you have won, Carmen." Miguel burst into tears, hugging his mother with all the strength his young arms could muster. On the phone screen, Cristiano smiled, his own eyes moist. Zidane placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, silently proud. The renewal that took place in the lives of Carmen and Miguel was profound. The dilapidated apartment was replaced by a small but comfortable home in a safe neighborhood, close to Miguel's school. A savings account was established to ensure the boy's education through university. Once recovered, Carmen was hired to work at Zidane's charitable foundation, helping other families facing similar situations. In a world where celebrities often engage in charity as a PR strategy, what Ronaldo and Zidane did for this family remained a secret. No press release, no photos on social media, no mention in interviews. Only on one occasion, when a journalist asked Cristiano about his most cherished memories in Madrid, he enigmatically replied, "Sometimes the greatest victories are those that no one sees. The conquests that truly matter are the ones that transform lives, not the ones that fill trophy shelves." One Sunday morning, almost a year after that fateful encounter, Zidane received a text message with a photo. Miguel wearing the uniform of an academy, standing next to a smiling and healthy Carmen. The message simply read, "Thank you for showing us that true champions are those who lift others when they fall." For Cristiano and Zidane, that little message was worth more than any golden trophy. It was proof that beyond the fields, beyond the fleeting glory of titles, there exists a broader field where the real battles are won. The field of shared humanity, where everyone, regardless of fame or fortune, can make a difference. Because in the end, it is not what we conquer that defines our legacy, but the lives we touch along the journey. Did you like this inspiring story? If this message touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with at least 3 friends who need to hear about the power of generosity. Together, we can spread stories that truly matter and remind everyone that even in the darkest days, there are people ready to make a difference. Share now and spread hope.